"Jack!" Amy cries. But there's no time to help him. The ceiling above the horse begins to dip, groaning like it's about to cave in. No, stay with me, Amy whispers to the horse. Her fingers fumble with the latch. She pulls hard to harden till her hands burn. At last, the door bursts open, swinging wide. The horse stumbles out, but another chunk of wood falls, striking its hind leg. The stallion screams again and collapses. Amy drops to her knees beside him, rain blowing in her face. She can see the injury deep, dangerous, possibly life-changing. But the storm doesn't care about injuries. It keeps pounding the barn, shaking whatever remains standing. Jack reaches her, breathing hard, pain written across his face. "We have to get out before this place falls," he says, gripping her shoulder. Amy looks at the injured horse, refusing to leave him. The wind howls. Lightning flashes. The barn creaks like it's about to split in half, and in that terrifying moment, everything at Heartland feels like it's hanging by a single thread. The storm roars as if it's alive, shaking the broken barn with a force that feels personal. Amy kneels beside the injured stallion, her hands trembling as she checks his leg. Rainwater drips from her hair onto the horse's coat, mixing with the mud and the fear in his eyes. He tries to stand, but his leg buckles instantly, sending a fresh wave of panic through him. Amy places her hands firmly on his neck, whispering, "Stay down. I'm here. I've got you." Her voice is soft but trembling. She is scared, but she cannot let him see that. Jack tries to stand straight, but pain shoots through his ribs. He holds his side, trying to hide the injury from Amy. The storm winds swirl through the gap where the wall once stood, turning the barn into a freezing tunnel of rain and splinters. Jack steps closer to Amy, wincing with every breath, yet forcing himself to move. He knows she won't leave the stallion knot unless someone pulls her away. And Jack, even hurt, is not ready to be that someone. A loud crack splits the air. Another roof beam dips lower, bending under the weight of the storm. Dust and bits of wood fall around them. Jack's instincts scream that the building could collapse any second. He looks at Amy, her face tight with worry, her arms wrapped around the shivering horse. He knows that if he tells her the truth about his injury, panic could get them both killed. "Amy, we have to go." "Now," Jack says, his voice thick but steady. "I'm not leaving him," she whispers. The horse shifts, groaning in pain, his body shaking. Amy's chest tightens. She knows this animal. She knows his potential, his spirit. She also knows that a storm like this can destroy more than buildings. It can destroy futures. Suddenly, a roar of wind forces the barn doors wide open, slamming them against the outside wall. Rain floods in, turning the floor into a slick mess of mud and straw. The horses in nearby stalls scream again, kicking and thrashing, terrified. The entire barn feels like it's vibrating. Amy looks around. The storm is no longer just outside, it's inside, tearing through the place like a hungry beast. Jack grabs her arm. "The roof won't hold. If it comes down while you're in here, I'm not leaving him, Jack. He can't stand. He won't get out." Jack's voice drops. "We'll carry him, or drag him, or do whatever it takes. But we can't stay here." Another thunderous groan shakes the barn. Amy's heart jumps. She looks at the young stallion, his fear, his pain, the trust in his eyes. She knows Jack is right. She hates it, but she knows it. Lightning flashes. For a split second, the whole barn glows white. Amy sees the truth clearly if they stay any longer. This place will become a grave. She leans close to the stallion and whispers, "We're going to get you out. I promise." The horse trembles, but doesn't resist. Jack crouches beside her, ignoring his own pain. "On my count," he says. Amy nods, breathing hard. The storm roars again. The barn shakes. Amy grips. The horses halter. Jack braces himself. Everything comes down to this moment. A moment where fear and courage stand shoulder to shoulder. A moment where Heartland's strength is tested in the darkest hour of the storm. The storm doesn't slow down for anyone, not for Amy. Not for Jack, and certainly not for the frightened horse lying helpless in the mud. Every second feels stolen. Every breath feels heavy. Wind screams through the torn barn like a warning, pushing harder and harder, as if trying to drag everything away. Jack positions himself on one side of the stallion, gripping the halter with shaking hands. Pain burns through his ribs, but he hides it behind tight teeth and a steady face. He can't let Amy see how bad it is, not now, not when she needs every ounce of strength she can find. Amy kneels on the other side, her hands gentle but firm on the horse's neck. "Easy, easy," she murmurs, though her own voice trembles like the rafters above them. The stallion shifts, trying to rise, but he collapses again with a harsh cry. The sound cuts through Amy like a blade. "We don't have time," Jack says, breathless. He can hear the roof groaning, bowing down inch by inch. One more hit from the wind, and it could come crashing onto all of them. Amy swallows hard. She knows he's right, even if her heart screams against it. She meets Jack's eyes just for a second, and in that look, they both understand the truth. This won't be a clean rescue. It won't be fast, and it won't be painless. But they must try. "Okay," Amy whispers. "Let's move him." Jack counts 3, 2, 1. Together they pull Amy, guiding the horse's head and shoulders, Jack pushing from behind. The stallion tries to help, digging his good leg into the mud, dragging himself inch by inch. His injured leg trembles violently. Amy keeps talking to him, her voice soft but urgent, promising he's not alone. She wipes rain from his eyes with her sleeve, even though her hands shake uncontrollably. A sudden snap echoes above them. A roof beam cracks, splitting slowly like an old bone. Dust falls into Jack's hair. He doesn't look up. He just pushes harder. He feels something sharp stab through his side, but he forces it down. Pain can come later. Breathing can come later. Surviving must come now. The horse makes another desperate effort, lifting himself enough for Amy to pull his head toward the open barn doors. Wind whips around them, pushing them sideways. Rain runs down Amy's face in cold streams. Her clothes cling to her skin, heavy and soaked. But she doesn't stop. "Just a little more," she says. Though her voice is breaking, they drag the stallion across the threshold of the barn just as a deafening crash explodes behind them. The roof gives way. Wood splinters. Dust clouds the air. Half the barn collapses in a wave of destruction, swallowing everything they escaped only seconds earlier. Amy shields the stallion with her body, heart pounding against her ribs. Jack stands with one hand on the horse, the other gripping his side, his breath coming in sharp gasps. For a moment, all three of them are still. Then Amy looks back at what used to be the barn end. Her face tightens with shock. The place she grew up in, the place where she healed her first horse, practiced her first training steps, cried, laughed, learned, is now crushed under broken beams and torn metal. But she doesn't cry. Not yet. Instead, she looks down at the stallion lying beside her, struggling to breathe through pain. "We got you out," she whispers. "But the fight isn't over." Jack's reply is quiet, strained but steady. "It never is, Amy. Not here. Not at Heartland." Morning comes slowly, as if the sun itself is afraid to rise over what the storm has taken. The wind is gone now, replaced by a heavy stillness that presses against the fields. Mud covers everything. Trees lie broken like fallen soldiers. The fences that once shaped the Heartland ranch now lean crooked or lay flat on the ground. What stood strong for years looks unfamiliar, hurt, shaken. Changed. Amy sits beside the injured stallion outside the ruined barn. A blanket covers his body, but his breathing is shallow. His eyes follow Amy's every move, trusting her in the only way he can. She strokes his neck with gentle, tired hands. Her fingers are scratched, bruised, and cold, but the touch is steady. She hasn't left his side since they pulled him out. She refuses to leave until she knows what comes next. The vet arrives shortly after sunrise. His boots sink into the soft mud as he kneels beside the horse. His quiet sigh tells Amy what she already fears. The injury is deep, complicated, life-changing. The stallion may never run like he used to. He may never train again. Amy's throat tightens, but she nods, because she knows the truth before he even says it. "He'll need time," the vet finally says. Amy whispers back. We'll give him that. It's not far away. Jack leans against a truck, trying to hide how much pain he's in. His face is pale, his breath short. The storm didn't just hit the ranch, it hit him. But Jack Morrison is not a man who admits weakness easily. When Tim approaches, Jack forces himself to stand straighter, brushing off concern with a tired smile. But Tim isn't fooled. One look, and he knows Jack is hurt more than he says. You need a doctor, Tim insists. Jack tries to argue, but a sharp pain makes him gasp. He presses a hand to his ribs, and Tim steps closer, no longer asking telling. You're going, Tim says. Now, across the yard, Lou walks through the wreckage of what used to be the barn office. Papers are soaked, furniture crushed, memories ruined. She kneels in the mud, picking up a family photo that somehow survived the storm. The glass is cracked, the frame bent, but the faces inside of me, Jack, Tim, Katie, are still smiling. Lou wipes the rain from the picture with her sleeve, tears slipping down her cheeks for the first time since the storm began. Katie stands beside her. Mom, we'll fix it. The sky over Heartland looks wrong. The clouds don't just gather, they circle, heavy and angry, as if carrying a message no one is ready to hear. The wind pushes through the ranch like it's trying to warn everyone. But the day moves on as usual, until the first distant rumble shakes the ground. And in that moment, everything that feels normal is about to break. This is the morning begins with a strange quiet across the Heartland ranch. The sun is out, but its warmth feels weak, like it's hiding behind something we can't see yet. Amy stands in the training ring with a young, restless horse that refuses to settle. Its ears twitch, its breathing is sharp, and every sound makes it jump. Amy tries to calm it with her voice, but even she feels a knot in her stomach that she can't explain. It's as if the air itself is holding its breath. Nearby, Jack tightens a fence board that came loose overnight. His hands are steady, but his eyes keep drifting toward the horizon. He can't shake the sense that the weather is shifting faster than it should. The sky has a dull gray tint, one that doesn't belong to a normal day in Hudson. Jack pauses, lifts his hat, and wipes sweat from his brow even though the air is cool. Something is coming, and he feels it deep in his bones, inside the house. Lou sits at the table, surrounded by papers for her upcoming council meeting. She tries to focus, but every few minutes she glances at the window. The trees barely move, yet she swears she can hear the wind whispering, brushing against the glass in uneven breaths. She pushes her papers aside and rubs her temples, wondering why she can't concentrate. She blames stress. Not knowing the real reason lies in the sky building above them. Katie and Parker return from feeding the chickens. They laugh about something silly, but the moment they step into the yard, they both fall silent. The horses in the field are restless, stomping, snorting, pushing at each other. Even the older horses, usually calm and predictable, stand with their heads high and ears stiff. Katie frowns and whispers, they know something's wrong. Back at the ring, Amy stops training and walks toward the gate, her eyes drifting upward. The clouds that were thin an hour ago have thickened into a heavy blanket. They move slowly but with purpose, like an army marching across the sky. She feels the first sharp twist of worry. She tells herself it's nothing, just a normal weather shift. But the uneasy horse beside her makes her doubt every word of comfort. She tries to believe. This is the moment before the world starts to shake. The final quiet breath before the storm's roar. Heartland stands still, unaware that the next few hours will test the strength of their family, their home, and everything they believe they can protect. Ning of the storm that will change Heartland forever. The wind arrives suddenly sharp, cold, and carrying a strange whistle that cuts through the open fields. It doesn't feel like normal wind. It feels like something pushing ahead of a much bigger force. Amy stops halfway to the barn as a shiver crawls up her arms. The young horse beside her jerks its head and pulls back on the lead rope, eyes wide, nostrils flaring. Even without words, the horse's fear speaks louder than anything else. Something is coming. Something strong. Inside the house, Lou's phone buzzes. At first, she thinks it's another message about her council meeting, but her face changes when she reads the screen. A weather alert unusual and more urgent than the ones they usually get. She reads it twice. A severe storm system is forming faster than expected, moving straight toward Hudson. She stands up quickly, knocking a pen to the floor. Her heartbeat feels heavier with every passing second. Across the property, Jack walks toward the barn with a bucket in hand, but he stops when the chickens suddenly scatter in every direction. Their wings beat the air in a frantic rush. Jack drops the bucket and turns his head, listening. For a moment, the world grows too quiet. No birds, no bugs, not even the distant hum of traffic, just a thick, heavy silence. He mutters under his breath, "That's not good." Then the first deep rumble rolls across the sky, not thunder, but something like a giant drum struck far away. It lasts longer than it should, a low growl stretching through the valley. Katie and Parker freeze near the porch steps. They both look up as the clouds twist into darker shapes, like smoke curling around itself. Parker swallows hard and whispers, "This doesn't look normal." Katie says nothing. She only hugs her arms tightly against her chest. At that exact moment, Amy's phone rings. She answers with her eyes still on the sky. It's an old friend of Ty's, a wildlife researcher who keeps track of storms for safety during fieldwork. His voice is tight, fast, and full of urgency. He warns her that this storm isn't like the others they've seen over the years. It's bigger, stronger, unpredictable. He tells her to secure everything, especially the animals. Before she can ask questions, the call cuts off. The signal fades into static. Amy stands frozen for a second, the wind tugging at her hair. The horse beside her starts to tremble, and she places a gentle hand on its neck. She wants to believe that Hudson has survived many storms before. But this one feels different, like the ground itself knows what's coming. She takes a deep breath and whispers, "We need to get ready." But deep inside, she knows they might already be running out of time. The first strike of thunder hits. So hard it rattles the windows of the Heartland house. Not a gentle warning, this is a violent tremor that shakes the ground as if the sky has cracked open. The storm doesn't sneak in. It crashes into the valley with a force that steals the breath from anyone outside. Rain falls in heavy sheets, pounding the dirt, turning it into thick mud within minutes. The peaceful ranch Amy stood on only an hour ago is now a dark, twisting blur of wind and noise. Amy and Jack sprint toward the barn through the growing chaos. The rain slaps their faces, and the wind pushes against them like hands trying to shove them back. The horses inside scream and kick against their stalls, their panic filling the air with sharp echoes. Amy's heart pounds as she fumbles with the gate latch. She has never seen the animals this terrified. Their eyes shine wide and wild in the flickering light as thunder rolls again. It's closer, louder. Inside the house, the lights flicker violently. Lou stands by the window, gripping the curtain as she watches branches bend nearly in half. Rick's voice crackles through the speaker of her phone, broken by static and wind. He's calling from town, yelling something about power lines falling and roads closing. Lou's breath quickens. She tries to answer, but the line goes dead, leaving her alone in a room that suddenly feels too small. Then the power cuts out completely. Darkness swallows the house. Katie jumps as everything goes black. She clutches Parker's arm, and he tries to stay brave, even though fear shakes in his voice. They step away from the window as another gust slams against the wall. The sound is like a giant pushing against the house, trying to get in. Katie reaches for her phone, but the signal bar is gone. No calls, no messages. No way to know if anyone outside is safe. Back in the barn, Amy shouts orders over the roaring storm. She and Jack move quickly, trying to secure the doors before the wind rips them open. Rain sprays through the cracks, wetting the floor. A loud crack splits the air. A tree limb slams into the roof above them. Dust falls. Wood groans under the pressure. Amy's body tightens in fear, but she keeps moving, pushing down the panic rising in her throat. Jack grabs a rope and yells, "This roof won't hold if the wind gets any worse." Amy nods, but doesn't pause. She strokes the neck of a trembling mare, whispering to her, even though the animal can barely hear through the thunder. She needs the horses calm, just calm enough to keep them from injuring themselves. Lightning flashes, lighting the barn in a sharp white glow. In that instant, Amy sees the storm's full fury outside. Trees twist, fences shake, and the world tilts under the weight of something much bigger than a simple storm. This is no ordinary weather. This is the kind that rewrites everything it touches. And at Heartland has only just begun. The world outside is chaos, but the real disaster begins inside the barn. Another blast of wind slams into the side of the building so hard that the whole structure shudders. The horses rear up, their hooves crashing against the wooden stalls. Amy tries to steady them, her hands shaking, but she stays focused. She has to. Fear can come later. Right now, she has work to do. A sudden roar fills the air, louder than thunder, louder than the wind. Jack's head snaps up. Amy, move. He shouts. Before she can react, part of the barn wall tears free with a violent crack. Wood splinters fly like sharp arrows. The old wooden beams tremble, then give way. The wall collapses inward, crashing onto a row of empty hay bales, breaking them open like ripped bags. The noise shakes everything, a sound that feels like the whole ranch is crying out. But the worst part isn't the falling wall, it's what happens next. A heavy support beam shifts and drops toward one of Amy's newest horses. A young stallion she's been training for weeks. He's promising, talented, and more sensitive than most horses she's worked with. He stands trapped in the far corner, unable to escape as the structure leans dangerously above him. His terrified scream cuts through the storm like a knife. Amy doesn't think. She runs. Jack reaches out to stop her, but she slips past him before he can grab her arm. Amy, no. It's not safe. He yells. The wind blasts through the broken wall, sending straw swirling like snow. The floor is slick with mud and rain, but Amy pushes forward, dodging.